Welcome back. In a significant judgment today, the Supreme Court has said that while Sharia courts have no legality, their objective may be laudable and they cannot be banned altogether. But they've also ruled that fatwas cannot be forced down people's throats and should not infringe on individual rights.
The Supreme Court today ruled that Shariat courts and their fatwas have no legality in the eyes of law, but turned down a petition seeking a ban on the courts. The top court, however, made it clear that fatwas are mere opinions which cannot be enforced. The argument of the petitioner, Advocate Vishwalochan Madan, was that Muslim Personal Law Board is running a parallel judicial system. In its judgment, the Supreme Court said, the object of establishment of such a court may be laudable, but we have no doubt in our mind that it has no legal status. A fatwa is an opinion only an expert is expected to give. It is not a decree, not binding on the court or the state or the individual. But this does not mean that existence of Darul Qaza is illegal. It is an informal justice delivery system. There is no objection to fatwa so long as it does not infringe upon the rights of individuals guaranteed under law. Muslim Personal Law Board and the community have welcomed the top court verdict.
They have tried to streamline the issuing of fatwas, and that is a good step.
ये तो एक मुसालियाती आर्बिट्रेशन एक्ट के तहत काम होता है, जिसमें दोनों फरीक आते हैं, अपनी मर्जी से कहते हैं कि हम अपना मामला आपके यहाँ देते हैं और इसका फैसला करते हैं.
Today's judgment makes it very clear that the Supreme Court doesn't want to interfere with the Muslim personal law, but it wants to streamline, regulate and remove misconception about the process of Shariat courts. In New Delhi, Arunachalam Vaidyanathan, NDTV.
Well, the question is whether these Sharia courts should be banned altogether. Can they be banned completely? That is a big debate that continues in this country, and whether what the Supreme Court has said can actually be enforced in real life. Will it be possible to ensure that individual rights are not trampled upon when fatwas are issued? We've got Nandita Rao, senior lawyer, joining us here in the studio with us. Amir Raza Hussain, Shahid Siddiqui and Zafaryab Jilani from the All India Muslim Personal Law Board joins us tonight from Lucknow. Let me ask Amir Raza Hussain first. Your thoughts on this judgment today and how important do you think it is?
Well, I think it's an extremely progressive judgment. I think despite the fact that we know that well, my friend Shahid Bhai doesn't call them courts, but whatever you call them, the system where fatwas are issued, we have the Muslim personal law is the courts are using it to give judgment on personal issues of the Muslims, on talaq, on marriage, on whatever. I don't think we need to have a separate system, however. I don't think that there is any harm if two people go for an arbitration, if it is an arbitration. But I really think that the problem with these fatwas and things like that, they are often used against rural women.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem arises. I can't see urban educated women really going to a Maulvi to discuss issues of personal law. If they've got an issue, they will go to a court. If it's an inheritance issue, they will go to a court. They will certainly not accept the verdict of a Maulvi. The other problem is that the Shara as such is not codified. So it's really left to the judgment of an interpretation by a person who may not be educated in the Shara, who may be not educated in any known academic strain, and he would be sitting in a masjid in the village and giving a fatwa. Now that is dangerous. That's very dangerous. It's retrogressive for the community. So I think
so an important progressive judgment is what you've called it, because of these concerns that you've also flagged. And Shahid Siddiqui, I'm sure you would concur with that. Or do you believe that some of those concerns are exaggerated? I mean, we have a list of some of the most absurd fatwas.
I welcome the judgment, but judgment is not against Darul-Iftaa or Darul Qaza.
No, it's not.
We must understand that they are not courts. To call them courts is absolutely wrong, and fatwas have never been binding. They are opinions. Like I go to a lawyer, take his opinion on the law, and I may agree with that opinion, I may not agree with that opinion. Similarly with these Darul Qaza is office of the Qazi, Darul-Iftaa is the office of the fatwas. They are not courts, there are no witnesses, there are no arguments, it's a question which is put to them and you get a reply. So let's be very clear, the non-Muslims understand fatwa as if it's something, which is enforced by the community, and they all go out with swords in hands to.
But for instance, rural
comply.
women, will they often have a choice? Look, it is a fatwa that you have to go back to your husband who beats you.
This is a social problem. Rural women don't get rights even under our ordinary laws, under our constitution. That's an issue in the rural areas.
We know what
A rural woman cannot marry a boy of her choice. Is it because of there's something wrong with Hinduism, or is it because something wrong with our constitution? There's something wrong in our system, our social system. So that is a social problem. So don't blame Islam or Ifta or Muslims or Darul Qaza for that. Blame the society. Society has to work for it, change for it. Say in Pakistan, women have much more rights. There are 33% women in the parliament. There are 33% women in all the legislatures, and they have been able to get much more. And the reason they have been able to get much more in Pakistan is that there is no fear. Muslims should work for reforms. Muslims should accept that need for reforms is there. Muslims should accept that the codification of Shariat has to take place, and this was the promise made at the time of Shah Bano by no less than Maulana Ali Mia, that within a year we will codify the laws so that women get their justice and rights. But that has not been done. So those should be the issues. These non-issues are made into an issue, going to the court and saying why the Shariat courts should be banned. They have never had any legal sanctity. They don't have any sanctity whatsoever. It's only a question of faith. So if you believe in it, go ahead.
But then Nandita Rao, the question is, Shahid Siddiqui says fatwas were never meant to be forcibly push down anyone. Yet many get the impression that they are.
Nidhi,
so how does it really work?
I mean, I don't disagree with him, but as he rightly pointed out, unfortunately, we have a sort of patriarchal society where khap panchayats, which had no legal basis, were forcing down their orders on the Hindu community. And the Supreme Court rightly banned khaps in their judgment a few years ago, Justice Katju and Justice Mishra. Now, it's a welcome thing that the Supreme Court has clarified that these fatwas are mere opinions. They are not binding on anybody. In fact, they should have gone a step ahead and said these are not courts at all. As far as their opinion making power is concerned, I would blame the Parliament of India and the Muslim Personal Law Board exactly for what Sir has done, that in so many years we do not have a codified Muslim personal law. We have a Shariat Application Act which has 4 sections, and all that act says the Shariat law will apply to Muslims. But what is the Shariat law? Judgments from Bangladesh High Court, Pakistan High Court, they are so progressive. They say triple talaq is illegal, it's not Quranic. In India, it is being upheld by fatwas, it is being given. You even go to a family court judge and he says, madam, please give me an opinion of a Muslim scholar. We are using the book Tayyabs as if it's statutory law.
So you're saying bodies like the Muslim Personal Law Board need to be more active in changing that?
Yes, in codifying the law, in getting actual scholars. Today you go to a masjid, a semi-educated guy.
For the rights of
so then let me ask Zafar Yab Jilani. Mr. Jilani, you're hearing the criticism there both from Shahid Siddiqui and Nandita Rao on this particular question, and on the fact that fatwas have been misused in this country in particular, especially against women who can't stand up to them.
You see, with great respect to all the panelists, I would say that if the panelists are not in a position to distinguish between fatwa and Darul Qaza, then definitely how can a layman and other persons be able to distinguish them? Fatwa has got nothing to do with the adjudication. It has never had any concern with the adjudication. There is no adjudication in a fatwa, it is simple opinion. Darul Qaza, where the people go voluntarily, 2 persons go and offer themselves that yes, they want a judgment of their dispute in accordance with Shariat Act. And the word arbitration, one learned member has used the word arbitration. It is 100% arbitration, nothing else. And for arbitration, the Indian law, Indian Parliament has passed a law. If this word is not being understood in the context of Qazi, then I am sorry to say that unnecessarily we are being blamed. Muslim Personal Law is being blamed, Muslim Personal Law Board.
But what about the point about codifying the codification?
If arbitration is there, it is 100% arbitration. I tell you, nothing else.
Those
if
that,
2 persons...
What about the codification? by the personal law board, which has been
Codification is
promised.
something, see, Mr. Shah Siddiqui, you have wrongly quoted Alimia. Alimia had said that we have codified our law, and the book of issued, published by the personal law board is very much there. It is now being revised by a retired judge of the Supreme Court. So that is what was meant by Alimia.
It is not available in
Alimia has
any legal
made-
bookshop.
No, there
and
is
it
no
is never
codification
used
as
in
yet.
the
It is available
Judicial
if you
Training
go to
Academy.
Delhi. It is available in the
But Mr.
books
Jilani,
also.
is it
It
your
available in
argument?
Delhi.
Is it your argument that
You go to the
that
office
people
of
are
personal law board,
voluntarily
you will
submitting
get the book.
themselves before Sharia courts?
Yes, yes.
Because
Of
not
course.
that's not the
They come
impression that one
voluntarily.
gets. Again,
So why-
Ahmed Raza
why
Hussain
this impression?
raised the point.
We are saying
no,
so,
because
you
it
go-
happens.
you
I mean,
go
you,
just in
At the
the
you
time
have
of
the case
Shabano,
of
this
It is
promise was
happening.
you have
made
the
by
case of
Rajiv
Imrana, for
Gandhi.
example.
Happening.
You have the
by-
case
by
of that
all
young
the
girl
ulama.
Imrana, for example. You told there was a fatwa about her after she was raped by her father-in-law. I mean, there have
That
been some
is-
pretty
I
absurd
again say
fatwas.
Fatwa is something different. Fatwa is not adjudication.
No, you know the
Fatwa
problem.
is not given by Qazi.
May I?
Yeah,
May
yeah.
I interrupt? You know,
Kindly
the problem
understand,
is
fatwa is something
the problem
opinion,
is
only
that
opinion.
fatwa may be an opinion.
Yeah.
It is never taken
Yes.
as just an opinion.
That is my point.
The other
Why you
point
don't
is
talk?
that
Why
who
you not
is
take
there?
expresses?
Who is there
do
tomorrow?
not
Shahid
want to
Siddiqui
understand
sitting
Islam.
here may decide to issue a fatwa,
Shahid Siddiqui
and
knows
I
very
may
well
issue
that
a
the fatwa
fatwa.
is-
Now,
he's saying
what
so.
is there any degree which the man who issues a fatwa passes? Is there any kind
Yes,
of code?
he is a
No,
there is-
I'm
there is.
afraid.
He has
I'm
a
afraid that
degree.
is not true. I'm afraid that is not true. When you go into the villages, the
you
Maulvi
don't
नहीं
believe
नहीं
in
जो
anybody.
जो
You
पेश
don't
नमाज
believe
होता है
the
गांव
person
के
because he is
मस्जिद
a
में who is
He
half
does not give
illiterate,
fatwa.
he passes a
You are
fatwa.
the-
This is
He
correct.
passes a fatwa.
We do
Okay, let
you know,
Mr. Jilani answer that.
and that fatwa is unfortunately even by the Muslim community and even by the mullah who is giving the fatwa is not understood as if it's just a legal
wrong.
opinion. It is
Exactly.
understood
You have
as a
other
ruling,
expressions.
and it is the people
No,
are
never
forced
it
to
is
follow
ruling.
that ruling.
Okay,
That
let-
is
let-
the
Never a
unfortunate
ruling.
part.
Fatwa is never a ruling.
But the point is,
It is
Jilani
so
Saab, that
ruling.
it is misunderstood as one. The point is that even by your
Yes.
communities, it is understood as a ruling. That is the point that Ahmed Raza Hussain is trying to
No,
make.
no. Our community is fully aware. It is only an opinion. Our community does not appreciate.
I think
does
we're
not
living in
accept it as
alternate
ruling.
universes.
I
Few
know,
people
our
who don't know
community is
fatwa.
not even-
I
do say
agree
that
and
ruling.
disagree with him.
Why do you agree?
Yes, I agree with him. By and large, the educated Muslims know that a fatwa
No,
is
educated, sir. How
but
many
but
of the
when you go
community
to
is
a village,
educated?
when you go to a village, their imams give all sorts of ridiculous fatwas without having any understanding even of Islam or Shariat.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that is where the problem is.
You give
And
any fatwa.
therefore something
Tab
has
tak
to
ke
be
saath
done by
chuna
the
nahi kha
Muslim
sakte.
Personal Law Board to codify and to make people aware that these imams sitting in the villages have no right to give these fatwas. Those fatwas can be given by a certain body in a particular manner, and those who have the right to give the fatwas should have those degrees.
Absolutely,
and should have.
absolutely.
There has to be some system
Okay, Nandita,
in place.
yeah, yeah.
System is not in
Frankly,
place.
In my opinion, in a democratic country where personal law system has been accepted, which is very good because we are a pluralist society, we have courts of law. There is no business for either a cup or for a Maulvi or for
Absolutely.
anybody to be
Absolutely.
giving fatwas, whether you call them orders of a cup, whether you call them fatwas of anybody. If there is a body for codification of the law, that law has been codified, this should have been brought forth in this case before the Supreme Court. And the Honorable Supreme Court had the power to tell all the lower courts that this book, which has been prepared by the Muslim Personal Law Board, shall hereinafter be used by the courts to interpret.
Yes.
Me as a lawyer, I had to burn the midnight oil for 1 week when I got a Muslim lady client to realize that a Muslim woman also has a right to file restitution of conjugal rights. And I am a women's rights activist. So can you imagine the ordinary lawyer sitting in the court and the honorary family court judge? I would say the Honorable Supreme Court should take some responsibility and have judicial training and bring people from the Muslim
But I think
Personal
for
Law
that,
Board.
first the All India Muslim Personal Law
Yes.
Board has to accept that there is a problem, Mr. Jilani, that maybe your intent is not this,
I do accept.
but it is
I
in
do
it is
accept that
yes.
there is
Yes.
a lot of ignorance about Islam and personal law. I agree with you. We are duty bound to educate the people. We have formed the committee known as the Shariat Committee in order to spread the real concept and real philosophy of the personal laws.
What does
There
that
I agree fully
They
with
never
you.
came to me.
Personal law board is conscious
I've never
and
even
personal
heard
law
of
board
it.
is carrying on this campaign. We hold sittings of non-Muslim and Muslim lawyers. I agree that large number of Muslim lawyers also are not aware.
In fact, questions should be raised about Muslim Personal Law Board. It's a non-representative, non-elected body, undemocratic body which takes decisions on behalf of the community, and the community doesn't know what they are doing and who are the people.
Bring some other body
just
in existence who
have
prohibits
people
you.
of their choice.
India has
nothing moves.
Everybody has a right to form association. Article 19 gives you a right. You form an association. Personal Law Board has formed an association, not direct by the direct elected, in order to make it a representative body.
So it is not a representative body. It's a body. It's an NGO.
But if there can't be for everybody. It has election. Every 3 years it has election. Like NGO.
Okay,
so
let me just get quick last comments from everyone.
society.
Amir Raza Hussain, on the whole issue though of personal law, and particularly on this issue of Sharia courts and fatwas, does it actually hurt the community and end up sort of, exaggerating a stereotype and playing that up?
I shouldn't think so. I think it would hurt only people who are incited by another group of illiterate people. If that doesn't happen, it should not hurt anybody. This is very good for us. This ruling is very progressive. It strengthens our position that we don't want, and a lot of the community doesn't want to have a common civil code. We don't want a common civil code. We want to protect our personal law, and this kind of thing actually makes sure that we go. Yeah. It's a step in the positive direction. I would rather have my problems being adjudicated by a judge rather than by a mullah. He may be the imam of the Jama Masjid, but I still don't want him to adjudicate on my personal issues. I would prefer a judge who has gone through an education, who's got a degree, who's sitting in the High Court or the lower court or the Supreme Court. I would trust him more than I would trust a Maulvi.
And yet you feel they do serve a purpose as far as arbitration is concerned. Do you feel that?
I feel they serve a purpose if both parties are in agreement, which may happen on property issues, which seldom happens where a rural marriage is involved, where there are rights of rural women, uneducated women. It doesn't happen for Hindus, it doesn't happen for Muslims. But if you drag a Hindu girl to a Khap Panchayat, she will not get justice. No. If you drag a Muslim girl to some Katmulla giving a fatwa, she will not get justice. It is unfortunate. I would rather she went to a lower court. There are much higher chance of her getting justice.
Last word, Shahid Siddiqui.
I think that the need for introspection within the community, we have bypassed the reforms. We need a lot of reforms, and the Muslims themselves should go into it instead of allowing the those who are suffering from Islamophobia to attack Islam at the drop of a hat. And that is where we should go into it. Otherwise, we will have to face the music and we will go on crying Islam khatre mein hai, which is not going to help us. It will get in danger if we don't work on it.
What's really important that's come out with this conversation with all of you tonight is that there are a lot of misunderstandings and I think a lot of misconceptions about many things when it comes to fatwas and Sharia courts. I think the important point that Amir Raza Hussain raised then was how much of it is really voluntary and how much of it is just read as an opinion, and that ultimately is perhaps the crux of the argument that maybe the Supreme Court was also trying to deal with today. Thank you very much to all of you for joining us on that debate tonight. We're done on the show this evening. We'll see you again tomorrow night. Tomorrow's the railway budget. Lots to talk about. See you then.